6 minutes. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Madam Commissioner, for your attendance here today, and appreciate. Let me just note how important, especially when it comes to trust in our institutions from the Canadian people, ensuring that there is a transparent, fulsome, and understood lobbying regime is in our country, and I appreciate the role that you play in that. A practical question first, and being mindful of time, but the workload over the course of the pandemic, was it something that you saw increased lobbying efforts, challenges with reporting? In about a minute or so, if you could you outline what the ebbs and flows were during the course of COVID?
It could be very quick. It definitely increased. Monthly communication reports before the pandemic were about 18,000 for the year. Mind you, it had been an election year. And during the pandemic, 28,000 oral communications. So that in and of itself was an increase. We saw an increase of active registrations. There was an increase. Now, everything was done virtually, and of course, oral and arranged communications, if it's arranged in advance and it's virtual, it must be reported. So automatically, the virtual world increased those oral and arranged communications. You had to plan the Zoom call. It was not something that was spontaneous at the corner of the street, which I think had an impact as well. But for sure, there was a lot of lobbying happening.
Did you notice any specific trends outside of Zoom? Any specific trends in terms of
not in the oral communications. With respect to the subject matters, health had never really been in the top 2 or 3, and obviously it became the top 2 or 3. Economic development was always in the top 4 or 5, but became again top 1, top 2. So there was a trend in subject matters and a trend in obviously in oral and arranged communications.
Thank you very much for that. So. Madam Commissioner, in terms of helping make sure that the Canadians understand both your role and the role that the Lobbying Act has in ensuring that there is a high level of transparency, because of course when there are incidences as we have seen from time to time, what efforts do you and your office undertake to ensure that the Canadians are aware of your efforts and the work that you do?
Well, first of all, we deal with stakeholders on a daily basis. So those who want to register or think they need to register are calling us regularly. In the last year, I think we had 5,000 emails and phone calls to make sure and get help to register. With respect to our awareness, we are actually going to be working on a stakeholder engagement plan in this coming year. I find because of the resources we have, we are much more reactive. So we do go out, we speak to universities, we talk to organizations, we talk to public office holders so they understand their role. We're talking to lobbyists mainly, but we could do a lot better, and I do think we need to start, I don't want to say traveling because it's not the right thing to do right now, but for sure we need to step up our engagement, but right now it's a resource issue. We've actually increased our international presence during the pandemic. I've done many presentations at the international level, which was really permitted because of the virtual world. But we're continuing to work hard to increase our presence on the social media, a little bit on our Twitter account and on our internet. And
so specifically, and I appreciate that, but specifically when it comes to within Ottawa and the National Capital Region and those who are connected within policy and political circles will understand the work that you do in terms of making sure that whether it's somebody who has an intent to lobby the government or simply wanting to learn about the process to ensure that there is transparency, and that are there tools that you've provided or steps to help make sure that outside of those of us who are engaged in decision making or the lobbying itself, or if somebody who maybe hasn't lobbied before wants to engage in that process, what steps have you taken?
Well, first of all, Canada is a big country, and there is lobbying happening in all of your constituencies, so I'm relying on you to help me in that area. For sure, we do have work to to play in getting out there in the community. But apart from the fact that we continue to issue, we do issue products. We do have documents that we provide to people. But very often they reach out to us, or we see a lot of things going on in the media. So I can tell you it's targeted outreach. When we see that someone is communicating with any of you and they're not on the registry, we follow up. So we do advise people. But unless I know what I don't know, it's difficult. And the resources to start doing a full blown outreach program is difficult. But I'm working on that. That is my objective in the next year.
I appreciate that, and I think my time is almost done. But I would just note in the report that was provided to us, which after some clarification you had provided to the committee during the second session of the last Parliament, one of the recommendations was regarding foreign lobby efforts, and certainly I think that's something I would just note so that it's on the record, Mr. Chair. I know there's probably not time to answer the question.
If there was a question there's no time to answer.
An important thing.
Yeah.
So I would simply note that.
Okay, you have done so. And now on to Ms. Hefner.